Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's WhatDaBuG. I hope we're feeling good today, tomorrow, or yesterday, whenever the hell you're watching this. Thanks for being here. Yeah, so I was in the shower today and I was thinking, I know that I'm going to be working on some stuff with other people as far as other content and stuff, having people up here, not necessarily interviewing them, but just having them up here chilling on the panel. But so I was like, and I don't know what it was. It was like, I guess my brain was like thinking about it, and then my phone was like, heard word bird. Wait, I'm bugged. And so yeah, like I was like, oh cool, so I have this. Now, as always, I'm just allowing you guys to have some time to come on in. Y'all already know what it is, so we here. Hello, Bryn. Hello, how's it going? What's up, Zen? How's it going? So yeah, so basically, I plan on just showing you guys this. It's not very long. It gives you guys about a 20-minute video, and then with me talking a little bit, probably makes it 30 minutes. I'm thinking, Bryn, that sounds about the right amount of time everybody needs to get their asses over here, right? And if anybody's worried because we're not over on TikTok, well, guess what? We can't get reported over here. We can't get in trouble, and I can't get a 7-day ban because I was playing the drums. So that's why we're doing it here. And if need be, I can cut pieces up for you guys, or just make it whole and post it, and then you guys can do with it, because it'll automatically post on my YouTube page. I have no problem with you guys taking it. I don't care. I can even send it to you guys. Put it in a special drive folder, and you can have it. I don't care. You guys are weird. Why are you... Hold on. Why are you over here? You guys are weird. Why are you over on TikTok? I'm not doing anything over here. I'm literally only over on here because I have to go 30 minutes on 3 different days. So I figure I just run it down. I don't even know how long I've been on here now. Because if it's been 30 minutes, I'm ending this. And I can go live again at 7 on WhatDaBuG, which is cool. Yeah, so anyway, let me put the link in there, even though everybody's not here yet. Let me put the link in the StreamYard. Also, or in the comment section. I am also really bad about telling people that I'm live. Like, I'm really bad about it. Which I need to just start being like, hey, I'm going live at this time, and then, well, I try to do that, but then stuff changes. Like, I was working on a video, and all the girls are listening to stuff, which is wild because I was getting blown up, and I'm like, why is everyone blowing me up? And then I don't know, I went into, like, I opened my computer up, And I guess everybody thought I was somewhere I wasn't, but I wasn't there. Anyway, let me present this to you guys. Just whenever everybody gets here, whenever you guys are ready. This is a 20-minute video, like I said, Bryn, so you let everybody know. I know everyone's listening, but I think you can listen, and most of you guys have multiple devices, so I'm just gonna go on like a regular show, and yeah. And then whenever you guys all get here, come back, do whatever. I'm running this regardless. Be here, don't be here. Don't hurt my feelings, because guess what? At the end of the day, there's still going to be a replay crew. Gotta love replay crew. Replay crew, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. You guys are not that the people that are on panel and that are here live don't count, but y'all are the other ones, because y'all are the other real ones, because who knows? You might be in a different country or whatever. But anyway, so this right here is about this guy from Ohio, and he literally, like, just right in the middle of suburbia, was just killing people, women, and literally keeping them in his house, like, to the point where, well, you'll see, the neighbors were completely grossed out. I mean, this guy is wild. And you start to line up all of the stuff that's going on, like, you know, you start to line up all this stuff. I can't remember what I was gonna say. God damn it. All right, I'm gonna play this.
At the end of October 2009, Cleveland police raided the house at 12205 Imperial Avenue after receiving a report about a strange, foul odor. When the door opened, they never expected to step into a real graveyard with dozens of dead bodies. The corpses were stuffed into plastic bags, hidden under the floor, in the basement, and even right next to the homeowner's bed. A man who seemed ordinary but was, in fact, a cold-blooded serial killer. The most terrifying thing wasn't the number of victims, but the way he killed right in the middle of a crowded residential area without anyone knowing. This was considered one of the most horrifying serial murder cases in Ohio's history. Join us as we explore Anthony Sowell's House of Horrors. Before we dive into today's story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our latest videos. Cleveland, Ohio, 2009. A gloomy autumn afternoon, the sky heavy with dark gray clouds, signaling an impending downpour over Mount Pleasant. This wasn't a luxurious or glamorous place. Old buildings, alleys filled with trash, run-down apartment complexes, all painting a bleak picture of a neighborhood abandoned by society. But the worst thing wasn't poverty or rampant crime. It was a mysterious, putrid smell that had haunted residents for months. At first, people thought the stench came from a nearby garbage dump or a dead animal trapped in the sewer system. But as time passed, the smell grew stronger, spreading to the point where those living nearby couldn't stand it anymore. People shut their windows, lit scented candles, sprayed perfume, but nothing could mask that terrifying odor of death. Then one day, the stench was no longer the only thing that terrified the residents. While everyone was still debating the source of the unbearable smell, at least 11 women in Cleveland had mysteriously disappeared. They were all black and impoverished, most of them either homeless or living alone, many with a history of alcohol and drug abuse. People like them vanished every day. No one searched for them. No one remembered them. That's why local police paid little attention when they were reported missing. But on the afternoon of October 29, 2009, everything changed. That afternoon, Cleveland police received an emergency call. A woman, in a state of panic, ran into the police station with bruises on her neck and a horrifying story. She said she had just escaped from the house at 1205, where a man had held her captive and tried to kill her. And the strange man living inside that house was none other than Anthony Sowell. On the corner of Imperial Avenue, 12205 stood silently among a row of dilapidated houses. There was nothing special about it, A two-story house with peeling paint, windows tightly covered by curtains, and a front.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Thanks for being here. Yeah, just here. Guess people are running their mouths, but just gotta let them. There's nothing I can do about anything. I was doing something earlier. I was being summoned, and I was doing something. It's just I was doing shit, and now, yeah, I'm no same way anybody else doesn't want to or have to listen to stuff. I'm not going to either, but I'm here for you guys to vent it out whenever you decide that you've had enough of the same things being said over and over. Um, if you've changed your mind, I mean, I don't know who's perfect, but we can keep going.
Front yard littered with piles of trash. To the neighbors, the homeowner led an eerily secretive life, day or night. The house was almost always shut tight. Every night, the surrounding neighbors often heard strange noises, screams, thuds, but then everything would go silent, as if nothing had ever happened. No one knew exactly what Anthony Sowell was doing in there. Everyone felt something was off, but no one did anything. In Mount Pleasant, people learned to mind their own business, so they chose to ignore the disturbing signs surrounding Sowell's house. Only when blaring sirens and a fleet of police cars arrived at his doorstep did the residents realize that all their suspicions were true. After receiving the distress call, police immediately headed to the house on Imperial Avenue. When they arrived, the door was still shut, just like always, but this time, they had a search warrant. A young officer, just 3 years into the force, was the first to step inside. The moment the door opened, he immediately recoiled, vomiting right on the doorstep. The stench coming from inside was unlike anything he had ever smelled before, a horrifying blend of decomposing bodies, filth, and dried blood. No one could have prepared for what they were about to uncover inside Anthony Sowell's house. The police had no idea they were about to walk into one of the most gruesome cases in Cleveland's history. Inside the house, darkness engulfed everything. The hallway lights no longer worked, with only faint slivers of light seeping in through the tightly covered windows. The living room was a chaotic mess: trash, beer cans, cigarette butts, and old clothes strewn everywhere. But nothing was more horrifying than the thick, suffocating smell of death in the air, a pungent stench of decayed flesh and dried blood. The officers split up to search. One stepped into the kitchen, where black plastic bags were tied shut, bulging as if they contained something unspeakable. Another officer opened the door leading to the basement, and immediately, a swarm of thick, black flies burst out, carrying with them an unbearable stench that made the man double over, coughing violently.
Dude, just imagine how bad that would smell, man. Just crazy. Shit.
But that wasn't the worst thing the officers would face. When they entered the bedroom, a horrifying sight awaited them. On the floor lay a decomposing female body, her skin darkened, covered in swarming flies. Her eyes were wide open, as if death had come so suddenly that she hadn't even had time to close them. A scream rang out as another officer discovered 2 more bodies. One was stuffed beneath an old mattress, while the other lay in the corner of the room, tightly wrapped in a plastic bag. All 3 bodies were in an advanced state of decomposition, their stench overwhelming. This was no longer just a crime scene, it was a true graveyard. As soon as the police called for backup, an officer walking past the stairs accidentally kicked something soft. When he looked down, his face turned pale. It was a human arm, stripped down to the bone, the victim dismembered by someone. But even more horrifying secrets were hidden inside this house. The forensic team was called in, bringing high-powered flashlights. When they shone their lights down the basement stairs, the sight that appeared made everyone shudder. Stacks of black garbage bags were piled on top of one another, some gnawed open by rats. revealing patches of pale, decayed flesh inside. The police slowly opened one of the bags to investigate, and immediately, the overwhelming stench forced the entire team to step back. Inside was a victim's severed head, eyes wide open, hair matted with decomposition fluids, crawling with maggots. As they continued searching, the police uncovered even more horrifying evidence. In the basement, they found a long iron chain, seemingly used to restrain victims against the wall. When the forensic team entered Sowell's bedroom, they had no idea they were about to step into one of the most terrifying rooms of all. The mattress was stained with dried blood, evidence of repeated killings. Under the bed, they found a human skeleton wrapped in a
That's okay. It's gonna be a short live, and then what I might do is just come back in a little bit. I'm just gonna show you guys the rest of this because there's some stuff going on, and my name keeps getting dropped left and right, and I guess everybody wants me to hear it because it's my name being said, and I keep getting so many fucking notifications. Like, I don't have my notifications on, but when I open something up, it's like a lot of people sending me shit in here, and I was getting blown up earlier. But I just want to do this for real. Like, I've been doing something and I needed to like chill and like not have my brain in work mode. So yeah.
plastic bag, with rotting flesh still clinging to the bones. He had been sleeping on the very bed where he killed his victims. He lived among decomposing bodies, in a stench so unbearable that no one else could have tolerated it. A plastic container under the bed held various pieces of jewelry and wallets, later identified as belongings of the missing women. Finally, when police dug up the backyard, they discovered two shallow graves, each containing a different body. Some victims had been buried alive. During the house search, officers found old videotapes, which contained documentary footage of other serial killers. Sowell didn't just kill, he studied, learned, and relished becoming a monster. Criminal psychologists began profiling Anthony Sowell and realized he didn't kill impulsively. He planned, carefully selected his victims, and turned his house into a living prison. The investigation wasn't over, but one thing was clear: Anthony Sowell was a serial killer, and this house was a true hell on earth. According to police records, Anthony Sowell had served 6 years in the U.S. Marine Corps, spending time in California, the Carolinas, and Japan. He moved into the white, 3-story house at 12205 Imperial Avenue in 2005. It was a poor neighborhood on Cleveland's east side, where well-kept working-class homes stood alongside abandoned houses and shuttered businesses. The house had once belonged to his father, who had passed away, and Sowell had bought it for a low price. Before moving there, he had served a 15-year prison sentence for rape. In 1989, prosecutors stated that Sowell lured a woman to his former residence on Page Avenue, threatened to kill her, and sexually assaulted her. After being released from prison in 2005, Sowell worked at a factory, but was laid off in 2007. When his unemployment benefits ran out, he started selling scrap metal. He had once been married and had a daughter, but after his release, he never attempted to reconnect with his ex-wife or child. Instead, he sought partners through an adult website. He created his account immediately after leaving prison in 2005, describing himself as 5 feet 10 inches, 160 pounds, with a distinctive scar on his face. On his profile, he claimed to be a master looking for a submissive, portraying himself as outgoing and party-loving. From there, the butcher began his hunt. One night in December 2008, a woman ran into the middle of Kinsman Road and 116th Street, waving frantically for help, her body covered in blood. The woman was Gladys Wade, 41 at the time. She frantically told police that Anthony Sowell had invited her in for a beer when she was passing by on her way to a local convenience store. When she refused, Sowell attacked her, dragged her upstairs, and strangled her until she lost consciousness. When she woke up, Her clothes had been removed, and Sowell was still choking her, attempting to assault her. Wade managed to escape, running into a nearby restaurant, begging people to call 911. But instead of helping, they told her to go outside and use a payphone. At that moment, Sowell chased after her, angrily telling neighbors that she had tried to break into his house to steal. Then he calmly walked back inside. Wade finally found a police patrol car and pleaded for help. Officers called an ambulance and took her to the hospital. After receiving medical treatment, Wade gave a full statement to the police, but they dismissed it as a he said, she said situation. Officers claimed there was no clear evidence and even suggested that Wade might have been the attacker instead. Police later went to check Sowell's house on Imperial Avenue at the corner of 123rd Street. Snow tracks around the entrance indicated a struggle. A blood-stained tissue was discarded nearby, and the steps leading to the house were smeared with blood. At that point, they briefly detained Sowell for questioning. 2 days later, police released Sowell without searching his house, and at least 5 more women disappeared before his arrest in 2009. Wade's case became a missed opportunity, haunting the community and law enforcement for years to come. For a long time, he lured vulnerable women with sweet talk, sometimes with alcohol or drugs. Some victims who escaped reported him to the police, but no one took action. Others, less fortunate, never left that house alive. A day after the police raided the killer's house, authorities in the U.S. discovered 4 more bodies and a skull inside and around his Cleveland residence, bringing the total number of victims to 11. A serious issue emerged. Anthony Sowell was not at the scene when police searched his house. The killer had vanished without a trace. An urgent manhunt was launched. Anthony Sowell's name appeared on every news channel, and his image flooded the city. But Sowell was no ordinary fugitive. He had military training, knew how to hide, and knew how to evade capture. For the next 3 days, he became the most wanted man in America. Cleveland was gripped with fear. Everyone knew a monster was lurking somewhere in the city. People locked their doors, and women were afraid to go out alone. Until October 31, 2009, when a bar employee spotted Sowell wandering near downtown and immediately called the police. 15 minutes later, a SWAT team moved in and arrested the killer on the street. When caught, Sowell remained eerily calm. He denied being the man authorities were searching for. But when law enforcement began fingerprinting him, he finally admitted his identity. Sowell was officially confirmed as the man behind the gruesome murders. Cleveland had never witnessed a case as horrifying as this. News of 12205 Imperial Avenue spread like wildfire, shaking the entire city. But as police began releasing the victims' names, a bitter truth emerged. Most of them were women whom society had forgotten. Tonya Carmichael, 52, had been missing since 2008. Her mother reported her disappearance, but no one really paid attention. "Are you sure your daughter didn't just go somewhere and will come back?" an officer asked. Michelle Mason, 45, was an intelligent woman who had attended college but fell into addiction. When she disappeared, no one reported it because they assumed she's just wandering off again. The list went on, but the common thread among them was clear. They were the most easily overlooked members of society: Black women, the homeless, and those with histories of addiction. After the case became public outrage erupted. Cleveland police faced harsh criticism for ignoring warnings for years. The victims' families began filing lawsuits against the city, raising troubling questions. Why didn't the police investigate the reports from women who had escaped? Why didn't they check the house sooner, despite neighbors constantly reporting the foul stench? How many other cases had been ignored simply because the victims were Black, homeless, or struggling with addiction?
Yeah, and another thing is a lot of times, like, police, they don't even check into all that. I mean, they're like, oh, homeless, fuck that. Black, especially fuck that. Like, it's like he was smart, and then he's like, oh, and then they're like, addicts, oh, black homeless addicts, yeah. They're not gonna look into that. I mean, the percentages, I don't have them pulled up right now, but the percentages for um like people of color, um and to white people being found or having information or having stuff put into finding them, the resources are just unproportionate.
Outside the Cuyahoga County Courthouse, a crowd gathered from early morning, holding pictures of the victims, signs demanding justice, and tears of anguish. Anthony Sowell, known as the Imperial Avenue Strangler, entered the courtroom wearing an orange prison jumpsuit, his hands tightly cuffed. He showed no fear, no remorse. His unnerving calmness sent chills through the room. His eyes scanned the crowd as if he were still in control. The judge, lawyers, victims' families, and media, all eyes were on him. The prosecutor opened with a sharp and chilling statement. Images from 12205 Imperial Avenue were displayed on a large screen. The courtroom air became thick with tension. One by one, witnesses took the stand. Sobs echoed throughout the room, not just for the victims, but for an entire city that had failed to protect its most vulnerable citizens. When it was Anthony Sowell's turn to speak, the room fell silent. He did not tremble, did not apologize. He even smirked when asked about his crimes. Sowell tilted his head, paused for a moment, then shrugged. What's done is done. Regret won't change anything. The courtroom erupted in fury. Some family members broke down in tears, while others were so enraged they wanted to lunge at him. His blatant indifference only fueled the city's collective outrage. After weeks of trial, the jury reached a verdict. Anthony Sowell was convicted on 82 counts, including murder, kidnapping, and abuse of corpses. The judge announced the death sentence. The courtroom burst into emotion. Some families embraced, crying because justice had finally been served. But for many, justice had come too late. Sowell never faced execution. He spent years in prison, continuously filing appeals to delay his death. But on February 8, 2021, Anthony Sowell died in prison from cancer. There was no public execution, no final moment for the victims' families to see him punished. He passed away quietly, without suffering, completely unlike the pain he inflicted on his victims. Some felt it was unfair. Others believed his death was insignificant compared to the lessons this case left behind. A month after the case, 12205 Imperial Avenue was demolished. People said it was the only way to erase the lingering horrors of that place. In the winter of 2011, a massive bulldozer rolled into Mount Pleasant, heading for 1205 Imperial Avenue. Outside, a silent crowd gathered, neighbors, victims' families, and even strangers who had followed the case from the beginning. It wasn't just a building being torn down, it was the destruction of a monument to pure evil. The Anthony Sowell case ended with a death sentence for the killer, but those who followed the story knew that some mysteries would never be solved. How many people had he really killed? Were their bodies still undiscovered? What had those women endured in their final moments? Some experts believed the 11 known victims were just the tip of the iceberg. How many more had Sowell murdered without anyone knowing? How many people had gone missing in Cleveland without anyone caring? And most importantly, if the police had investigated sooner, how many lives could have been saved? Thank you for listening to today's crime story. Don't forget.
All right, guys. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Yeah, it's still just kind of chilling. Like I said, I didn't want to come back, but I just wanted to at least go live for you guys, at least to show you guys something. Like I said, I'm being summoned, but I'm listening. Anyway, I'll be back, and if I'm not back tonight, then tomorrow. But I can go live on TikTok on WhatDaBuG, And WhatDaBuG, if you guys see live anytime today, tomorrow, or the next day, and it's just a picture, it's because I'm just running the clock up so I can get a panel. But you guys, thanks for being here. I know this was a short one, but there's just some stuff going on, and I can come back. So Zen, Bryn, Sky, thanks for being here. Marie, thanks for popping in. I can pop right back up on here in an instant. So keep this here for now, and thanks for being here. I know it was short, and it's like, Bug, what are you doing? But just got to be there for my friends. So let's put it like that. So what's up to everybody? Have a good night, and I'll probably come back in a little bit. But see ya.